Boston University, the fastest indoor track in America, where BU's famous wood and high banks turn the fastest into record breakers. This winter, the home of PRs and the sport's biggest proving grounds are on FloTrack. This is the David Henry Valentine Invitational, live now on FloTrack Night in America.
One of the favorite destinations from coast to coast, north and south, is Boston University's Track and Tennis Center. Phil Grove along with Carson Gambaro. Carson, this is just going to be a great day. Another FloTrack Night in America at the Track and Tennis Center. Starting out with the 800 meters, my favorite event. But Carson, things are just going to dial up from there. We could see a new world record for most sub-4s in a meet.
We could see several sub-4 miles to come. We've already seen 19 in the open sections. You know, they tell us all the time, right? Quality is more important than quantity. Well, here at BU, we combine them both. Quality performances galore.
Again, the lineup for the FloTrack Night in America, starting with the 800 meters, we'll have 5 heats of the half, 5 heats of the mile, 1 heat of the 3K, and then 1 heat of the 5K. And talking to all of our winners down on the infield, Nia Gibson. Nia.
Ready? All right. Yeah, we are here at the BU Valentine Invite, guys, and we are in for a big day. The men are going to start us off. Obviously, we have the women tomorrow. The stars of the show right now, though, is definitely going to be Marco Langon and Gary Martin in that men's 3K. Remember, they are ranked number 4 and number 6, respectively. We do have an update for you guys, though. For the men's 5K, Justin Knight is a scratch, so we hope to see him later on this indoor season or outdoor season. But before then, the 800 meter will be the first to go.
All right, thank you very much. And again, the 800 kicking things off. Carson, as I have professed before, the 800 is my favorite event. 400 dash, 400 die. It maybe doesn't get the love that some of the other events seem to get off this oval. I don't know if it's the trampoline effect, or I don't know if it's just the caliber of 800 runners haven't been here yet. But with the still facility record, a 1:45.19 by Aiden McCarthy from Cal Poly.
You know, I think the 800 really deserves a lot more love, like you said, Phil. And to me, this indoor season has given it plenty of reason to be that premier event. On both the men's and women's side, we saw it just a couple weeks ago at the John Thomas Terrier Classic. Isabel Boffey dropping a huge lifetime best to move to number 2 on the all-time Great Britain list, 157.43. And of course, right behind her was Roisin Willis, 157.97 for the American record. And on the men's side, collegiately, of course, this being a collegiate predominant meet, Colin Salmon at Millrose set the new collegiate record, breaking Paul Arang's former world record that was also the former collegiate record, down to 144.70.
Actually, that was Wilson Kipketer's indoor world record, 142.67, all the way back in '97.
We're thinking about Josh Hoey, who broke the world record.
That's what I thought you said. Sorry.
I'm talking about the former world record that was the collegiate record as well.
Right, gotcha.
There's a whole lot of overlap there, but you have every right to defend the stat lines behind your favorite event partner.
So many things have happened indoors thus far, and even today, some of the highlights. We got things cranking out with the 4x4 relay, where we see on the infield in the 100, in the 60 hurdles. And again, but the excitement really ramped up with the men's mile. 19 went sub-4, and there's Mr. Clay from Penn State, the big run in the 1K, number 2 all-time in the collegiate ranks.
2:17.29, back-to-back school records for him. We'll see Alan Clay pacing our hot heat of the mile, but in the meantime, Phil, the 800 guys are on the track, and interestingly, not just top performances on the college ranks, but there are a couple of national records that I am eyeing in this race. You look at Hazi Miawad, he has Egyptian heritage representing Empire Elite, wearing hip number 8. He's going to be going after Ahmad Mohammed's 147.65 and wearing hip 2. Hassan Abidi of Elite Distance has Tunisian heritage. Could be looking to attack a 146.74 by Abda Salim Ayouni.
All right, so the tempo in this, 26:25 per lap. That equates to a finish time of 1:45 flat. Aiden Britt, you see him out there wearing hip number 9. He is our pace setter. And Ihan, running for the Garden State Track Club, is the closest to him in that outside alley. They're coming together after running the 2-turn stagger. A quick look behind by our pace setter as we see things settling in, but it won't settle for too long because so many things happen in such a short time in the 800.
At the same time, the majority of the field is still ahead of the pacing lights, so even if they're not right up in touch, you can see Britt taking multiple looks back to make sure they're still there, but I'd expect this pace to remain relatively hot so long as the field stays together.
And again, I mentioned earlier, 1:45.19 is the facility record. Aiden McCarthy from Cal Poly. Now the pacing lights are ahead of our leaders as Abidi from Elite Distance, a 1:46.05 800 runner. The finishers are on the track. Ihan from Garden State moving up into the number 2 position.
Look out for Josué Lecadre, the Frenchman representing Indianapolis, the reigning Division II national champion, on the inside as they head towards the Bel Air.
And he makes the move to take the lead. And again, this is where D2, D1, D3, you just throw it out the window. The young man from Indianapolis, 1:46.10 is his lifetime best. And he is pulling away from this group down the back straight.
That was a huge third 200. He's clearly built the momentum, and he has the optimal position in the final 100.
1:39 on the clock. They're headed for home. 1:41, but 4 are on the prowl. James Harding from Oregon makes the move, and it is Matthew Ericson. Ericson with the win. Harding and Ericson both went for gold, and it is Matthew Ericson with the win.
That's the defending NCAA champion for you, Matty Ericson. Always strikes at the right time. The Ducks were hanging way in the back at the start there, Phil. And there they came around that final 100 meters out of absolutely nowhere. Right on the line with the lean, the final 2 to 3 steps. Ericson ultimately made his decisive move there.
And with a smile on his face, he crossed the line at 1:46.88. Again, 4 more heats there, the final numbers, as the Ducks go 1-3, split down the middle by one of the best from Division II. Lecadre, again, finishes second. Again, not much difference in pacing between our opening heat and this one, 1:45.40, so that's 26:35. Again, even pace per lap.
Looks like Nia has Matty Ericson right down there with the champion, Nia Gibson. Take it away.
What's up, guys? I'm here with Matthew Ericson, your winner of the first heat of the Invitational 800. Tell me how that race went for you.
It was a little messy. Didn't get out quite as well as I wanted to, but had a big close. I feel like that was a good practice of just moving through bodies on an indoor track. You know, the straight's really short, the corner's really tight, so just getting my legs back under me after a up and down fall, but great momentum going into the rest of the indoor season.
Talk to me about the adjustments you made, especially in that last 200.
Yeah, I wanted to run a really good last 300. I was hoping I'd be a little bit closer to the pacer, but just didn't have that first 200, I guess. And that's part of the game. You know, you got to get out, got to execute all stages of the race. I had a great last 300, but not such a good first 400, so got some work to do in terms of execution.
And finally, before I let you go, Matt, how does this help you for the rest of indoor season?
You know, I run for wins, so I was really, really happy to take the win today. Hoping to continue that the rest of the indoor season.
All right, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
Torrin Caesar is taking the pace out as Matthew Ericson gets the accolades and the post-race interview. 1:46.88 is the time to beat. These are the hot heats of the 800. We do have a mix of pros and collegiate runners in this one. Dan Watke from Villanova in the number 2 spot, pushing for the front.
Watke finished number 2 in the 1K here at Valentine last year. Currently right behind Camden Law of Michigan, but with a lot of company on this final lap.
Wearing the specs down the straightaway. It is Watke, originally cut his teeth in Ohio, moved to the Midwest. Dan Watke again has enjoyed incredible success here at BU, and it looks like it's going to be East middle distance power winning this one. And does he, he looks like he will have the overall lead. Watke credited 1:46.74. We'll see if that is his official. 1:46.79. Dan Watke with the number 1 time. out of the second heat.
Continuing a very consistent season. Yet another 146 high for Waukee, who's already number 10 in Division I, coming in at 146.62 from the Penn State National Open. He comes here to BU and gets that win that he was one spot away from last year in that facility record-setting 1K behind Luciano Fiore. But such brilliant timing there. Gave himself a shot, called his shot, and nobody could catch him back.
Again, the push for a home was big, and you had mentioned it earlier about the high level of excellence in the 800 this year. Again, only 10th at 146 and change because the collegiate lead is 144.
And 146 is the time that Ericson, who won our first heat and set the initial top time, had run to win that tactical 800-meter final at the Indoor Nationals at Virginia Beach last year. But it's clear to see that Dan Waukee is going to be a factor once we reach Arkansas.
All right, we are underway once again. The full field of 10 on the oval as Corey Couture, our pace setter, along with the lights, 26.5 per lap or a 146.2 ultimate 800-meter run. John O'Reilly from Michigan settling into the number 2 position. He gets himself caught. It didn't look like he wanted to go to the rail, Carson.
Interestingly, it seems like these Big Ten schools have gotten themselves into some good team situations, though that doesn't exactly eliminate the tricky waters of the 800. I'll be curious to see if O'Reilly and his teammate Miles Brown can link up later in the race and make a similar charge to what we saw with Ericson and Harding.
So Brown is about 3 spots back in 6, but he's moving wide, 3 wide down the main straight. Our pace setter just stepped off the track, leaving it up to Tim McInerney. 52.7 through the opening 400 meters. Now it's him to press on with O'Reilly right behind him in the number 2 spot, and Gabriele Angioni from Georgetown in 3rd.
Angioni, native of Turin, Italy. I bet he wishes he were running indoor track at the Milan Cortina Olympics if that were a sport in that games, but still he's running very well for the Hoyas in the top 5, but being quickly overtaken by the Duke 1K school record holder Beck Wittstadt in 4th.
119 and change for McInerney, our leader. He's going wide out in the lane 2, trying to hold off any challengers. He's only got a couple strides. Can he hold on? It looks like he is going to lose that lead in the final 50. But coming up, that is McDonald Sogok from Middle Tennessee State going wide. But our winner from South Carolina, Eduardo Lecrevin.
Edouard Lecrevin just slingshot off that last turn. He was lurking in the shadows throughout the majority of that race and finally found some daylight.
Not the head roll that you wanted to see from a winner. He knew that he had maybe more in the tank. 147.31. And you see the final push for a home. Nice lean. Windmill with the arms gets him home again at 147.31. So that will bring him in at 3rd at best overall, as we have 2 under 147.
Got to give a shout out to Beck Wittstadt, who ultimately had to settle for 4th in that section, but a 148.13. That'll be good enough to break Matt Wisner's former indoor record for the Blue Devils of 148.57. Nicely done. 2 school records in 1 season for Beck Wittstadt.
All right, in this one of the highlights of the young season so far for Boston University, Thomas Cowan. He is on the inside alley wearing number 2. That was Alex Leith from Virginia. There is Cowan. Also from the Bradley, David Locke. And everybody free and clear. A little bit of elbow contact on the inside rail, but nothing much. Cowan, you'll see him coming up in the red and white on the inside. Ethan Menard, our pace setter, on the outside along with those pacing lights.
I talked about the consistency factor with Dan Waukee. Well, it definitely applies to Thomas Cowan. Last year as a freshman with BU, he was so consistent in those 148s, and it seems like 147 is his new mark of consistency. We'll see if he can improve his time down from a 147.56.
25-1 for Menard with losing his balance but maintaining it. That is Klaus Scholl from Wingate, the D2 powerhouse. Really wasn't certain if there was he's losing it again. He's just having difficulty in that transition on the bank surface. Scholes in the lead through 400 meters. He's got about 5 up on Tyler Edson from Virginia.
I think Scholes, once he realized just how much trouble he was in, he was like, all right, I got to get away from this. He made a big surge up to the 400 mark at 51. Now he's just going to have to hold on with what he's got left.
He is really just striding just about at maximum capacity, overstriding possibly at times. But Edson not able to move up on him. Cowan in third, and Army's Kassan Jits in the number 4 spot.
Kason Zeitz, the reigning Patriot League runner-up, beat out Cowan at both indoor and outdoor champs last year for conference, so he's looking for a good preview, but Cowan looks confident down the backstretch.
Chasing Tyler Edson from Virginia, 147.6, but here comes Cowan. He knows this track. He knows the banking. He's going to have the fans on his side. Final 40 meters. Does he have enough race? Not going to get there. The winner, Tyler Edson from Virginia.
Look at the time, Phil. 146.48 out of the 4th heat.
That's why you can't sleep on any of these, and that's why they go so deep. So on pace, but again, out of the 4th heat, 146. It looked like 35 for Edson. A consistently fast race. There's our winner, 146.48. Wow. What a run. Cowan also under 147. 2 more.
And both of these guys have moved themselves into qualifying positions for NCAA Nationals. That is huge. Dan Waukee was previously number 10. It is now Andrew Edson of Virginia. Tyler Edson, pardon me. That's incredible.
All right, our final grouping, 11 on the oval, the hot heats of the 800 meters, and they continue to get faster. Is that even possible? We saw that in the open miles earlier as we went 7-7, then we had a pause and we picked up a couple more. We're at 19, and folks, that is next on the program, the men's miles, but don't sleep on this last heat of the 800. Some of the schools represented: Texas Tech, BU, D3 Rowan, Notre Dame, West Texas A&M, also from the D2 ranks, Penn and BYU.
Got to give a shout out as well to Robin Lefebvre of St. Laurent Select. He was the mile champion in the New Balance indoor meet last year, so he knows how to run well in Boston. We'll see if the French Canadian can factor in. He's always had that good 800 closing speed. We'll see if he can use it here in this open 8s.
All right, Dan DeMonte from Boston University is our pace setter. The lights are going to run at a pace of 26 3/4 seconds per lap, a 147, but we've seen 146s just from that last heat. Can we have a new overall leader from the 5th and final heat?
We can, but it would be wise for a lot of these leaders to get closer to our pace setter, Daniel DeMonte. They're running with free energy, though, so even despite the fact that they were a little distant, you see those splits right there, 25-4, nothing to slouch over.
No, Zaylin Nelson from Empire leading the number 2 position as DeMonte looks over his inside shoulder to see how much daylight between himself and our chase group. Matthew Smith from Notre Dame sitting in 3rd, and then back to the number 4 spot, Stephen Mutai from Texas Tech. The pace setter is off the oval, and it's now up to the finishers.
The top finisher, Nelson, came through in 51.8. That's not a bad pace. They're going to need to close in around a 54 low if they want to steal a win at the 11th hour. But more importantly, coming up for these hot heats of miles, Nelson's got 2 vaunted teammates from the Empire Elite Group, Eric Holt and Ben Allen, wanting to set the tone for them.
All right, I was just going to say the top 7 are single file, but that is when Matthew Smith went outside into lane 2. He brings Mutai from Texas Tech with him, and Mutai is the new leader as Smith's advantage lasted a very short time. Emil Megel from West Texas A&M fighting hard in 3rd, but they're not going to catch Stephen Mutai. Can he go 146? Can he take the overall lead? 142 headed for home. Not going to get there, but what a run out of the 5th and final heat. 147 solid for Stephen Mutai.
That's one of the great things about an 800-meter race. You mentioned it when we were talking about the potential tone setter for Nelson. Ultimately didn't win, but still, his teammates will have a chance to get back. But right as we were saying that, the race completely changed form, and you had Stephen Mutai unleash this sprint out of nowhere to win by a 1.5 seconds.
Wow, some exciting 800-meter runs as we take another look at the move that led the young man from Texas Tech to victory in heat number 5. at Boston University of the David Emery Valentine Invitational. Coming up next, there are the results. Wow, out of heat number 4, Tyler Edson, Dan Watke, Thomas Cowan, Matthew Ericson, and LeCadre from D2IU, all under 147. Coming up next, the men's mile. Remember, folks, we're at 19 on our way to 52 and higher. Carson, it doesn't get any more American than this. 5,280 feet, 1,760 yards. It is the mile. It's up there with baseball, hot dogs, apple pie, and a certain car manufacturer. But this is a lineup, heat number 1 of 5. The former world record, which is now number 4, 347.01, facility record set here back in 2019. Not much activity. And I did have a 16-year-old that ran 348 here, but in comparison to the 800, not as much activity on the global scene in the mile, but we could change that today with the world record for sub-4s.
Absolutely. That number currently stands at 52, and of course, like you said, coming back from break, that would mean we would also break the world record for the most American track and field meet ever, but I digress. The more more important thing is the fact that we have got 5 heats of 60-plus milers, each of whom could break 4 on any given day.
And speaking of the 800, one of the individuals who's just been lighting it up right there, number 8 in the middle from Northern Arizona, Colin Solomon, 352.82, but he just ran lights out 142 and change, right?
144.70 officially
yes.
at the Milrose games. I'm sure he has 142 on his mind long term, but he beat his outdoor best with that 144 collegiate record over at New York City. Coming over to Boston, he's got a lot of accolades, including a win at the opener meet over 3K in 7:36. So the range, we talk about it time and time again. It's Colin Solomon's secret weapon.
All right, I know following the lights, follow the lights, but right now they're going to follow Alan Clay, who again went big time in 1,000 meters earlier, 2:17.29, the number 2 all-time for a collegiate 1K runner. He is the pace setter. He is a standout from Penn State University, and he's got the field already down in single file. Again, very important formation right now. We see Eric Holt, a familiar face here. He's sitting back in the number 5 spot.
A few spots separated from his Empire Elite teammate Ben Allen, but these two had a great race at the Fast Track National Invite over at Ocean Breeze. Allen ultimately took the win in a 3:53.40, setting a facility record with Eric Holt just a few tenths behind. So they're in fine form to be running low 350s.
And again, the 3:48.88 from Sam Ruth that we saw earlier from the 16-year-old from New Zealand shows that some of these athletes really are close to mid-season form. And again, it's only the day before Valentine's Day.
Of course, we're going to get to see Sam Ruth return to BU next week to run the 3K, but it's nice to see some of our other recent collegians returning, like Cooper Cothra, formerly of Texas A&M, and his new teammate, Wes Porter, formerly of Virginia, now running with those matching Under Armour kits.
All right, so the lights are dialed in at 3:50 pace. Again, 28:58 per lap. The athletes are just a tad behind that. Alan Clay from Penn State setting the tempo. He's about 6 to 8 feet behind those pacing lights. As we go down the back straightaway, Cooper Cothra from Under Armour Mission Run, Baltimore, sitting in the number 3 position.
Even so, Clay ended up taking them through that 800-meter split, or at least 800s to go, at 1:55.5. Look at this. He's coming through the 1K after a 2:17 and a 2:24. Have a day, Alan Clay.
Again, the extra work that makes him one of the top collegiate runners, as leaving up to Ben Allen from Empire Elite now in the lead with his teammate Eric Holt in 4th. The 2 guys from Under Armour, Porter and Cothra, in 3rd and 2nd respectively.
We talked about Solomon and his closing speed. He's going to need to move now if he wants to be able to use it over these final 400 meters. He's starting to make some ground, but can he get inside the top 10 with the NAU kit towards the top?
With only 400 meters to go, he is well back. He is in that actually 3rd grouping now. He is picking them up and putting them down, but they're going wide. And moving up, that is Aaron All running unattached, and he's pushing Cothra. All takes the lead into the turn with, again, the 2 Under Armour guys in 2nd and 3rd. Ben Allen now in 4th with Thomas Ratcliffe in the number 6 position. 1 to go at 3:22. We're going to have a whole bunch under 4, but can they catch Aaron All?
As far as we're aware, this is Aaron All's indoor season opener. Wes Porter, just over a month removed from World Cross when he ran the relay, helping Team USA get 5th. There goes the former Virginia Cavalier into the lead.
Wes Porter with 100 meters to go at 3:42 on the clock. Can he get close to 3:50? That is the time that they were scheduled to hit. Coming to the line, 3:50 and change for our winner, Wes Porter. The opening heat of the men's mile at FloTrack Night in America.
A massive, massive lifetime best for Porter. Feels so good to see him back here running miles at the fastest track in the world, down from 3:54.52 at the Dr. Sanders Scorcher. He goes 3:50.37, and we got to consider world-ranked times right now. A 3:50.37 is the 8th fastest time worldwide in 2026.
Another look at this race and the final push to the line as Wes Porter, again, the winning time, the first one in this heat, under 4. We take a look at the numbers. Wow, we are going 10 plus. keep rolling those numbers. 3:53.29 in 10th place. Are you kidding me?
And even Colin Solomon got up for 4th, coming back from outside the top 10. So even if he didn't come away with the win, the only athletes to finish ahead of him were pros.
And he was way, way back. Sending it down with our winner, Nia.
What's up, guys? I'm here with Wes Porter, and wow, what a race, 350.3. Tell me what the strategy was throughout that. It was a bumpy at the start.
Yeah, it was. I got out well, thankfully, and then Corey and I were just talking about, like, let's be a little brave, 600 out. Like, I think I have a tendency to make sure I know I can get to the end and then go. So at like 500 to go, put myself in a spot where I thought I could win. Took it with like 100 to go and just tried to run away.
At any point, did you find yourself having to adjust from the original game plan?
No, I mean, we just got out well. Cooper and he was right in front of me most of the race. Like, we do all the same training, and it was kind of, most of the race was like, just, Wes, calm down, calm down, calm down. And that's when I got to a KN, you kind of know it's going to be a good one. And then just kind of have fun and execute from there.
350 point. Tell me how fast you think you can go in this mile.
I mean, that's a great sign. That's a 4-second PB for me. I just feel like I'm in a great spot. Yeah, just would love to see a 3-4, and I thought it was close today. So, yeah, just really grateful for all my coaches and family and people around me.
We love it. Congratulations, Wes.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And boy, talking about being brave, he talked about going with 600 remaining as this second heat going through one lap in just over 27.8. But the big number in that one, in addition to the win in 350.37 for Wes, 14 of 15 runners sub-4.
And that brings us to 33 total. We're already within 20 of the world record set here at Valentine just a few years ago. And in this field, with a great chance to go and get another sub-4, potentially a new PR, Harrison Witt of Virginia, our defending Valentine champion.
All right, so they go through well under 60 seconds for the first 2 laps plus 9 meters. They are stretched out single file. What a great shot inside turn 1. Down the back straightaway. Our pace setter in this one scheduled to be, again, Braden Picard from BYU. He is at the point. And has Lucas Bonds from UT, the Longhorns, sitting in the number 2 spot.
Interestingly, Lucas Bonds is a former BYU Cougar,
exactly.
So in a pretty familiar position right behind the pace setter, trying to settle in here. He's gone 4 flat at the Razorback Invitational for his season best, but at his lifetime best, Lucas Bonds has gone 354.82.
And he can appreciate that an Ed Eyestone coach team, you know, understands pace, understands consistency in that. And right now is his former college mate steps aside. It's 155 and change. Again, they're on pace for another hot one. They're a little bit behind the pacing lights, again, which are dialed in at 3:53, but that doesn't account for the big final lap.
Absolutely, and the entire field is relatively single file right now, so a lot of athletes, at least inside the top 5, are staying patient, waiting till that moment where they'll choose to unleash their closing speed.
All right, we do have a mix of collegiate runners and one post-collegiate. That is Jonathan Podbilski in the number 2 spot, as Brendan Herger from UM, the Wolverines of Ann Arbor. He's going to push it, and he is going to take the lead down the back straight. We're in the final 3 laps.
Man, what a great shot that was from turn 1 right there as all those moves were being made. Herger, he's always been a great 800 closer since his high school days. Let's see if he can ride that train home and close steady. He looks so reserved. He's barely moving his arms right now. Still with 400 meters to run. Has yet to shake the field loose, but he's doing great thus far.
One of the runners moving up is Nathan Mountain, the former Ohio standout, now ready for Virginia. He's known as the steeplechaser in the collegiate ranks. And earlier today, I was talking to Brad Herbster, also a collegiate runner, talking about the sort of the, let's say, transferable skills from the flat races to the very demanding steeplechase, and Mountain right now in the number 3 spot.
Not the only steeplechase versatile athlete we'll see in the distances today. Sean McGordy, the big one to come in the 5K later, but it is still Herger on the front. Mountain's got to get around the outside with Connor McCormick, the current Princeton Tiger, at the back of the top 5, each with a chance.
So it is Herger from Michigan. Mountain trying to close. He's up in the second place. And McCormick from Princeton. We have a lot of orange there in second and third. They were at 3:25 with a lap to go. We are going to have at least 6 runners under 4. Can we get more out of this one, as the winner is going to be Connor McCormick from Princeton.
Man, it is something about the Tigers. I mentioned Harrison Witt, who won this event last year. That was when he was still in a Princeton jersey before transferring to UVA. But what a comeback by Connor McCormick. Again, we saw all of those powerful moves that Nathan Mountain was making, but McCormick just responded. Similarly to Wes Porter against all in the previous section. Just look at that drive. Feeding the face, driving the hammer. That's why my high school coach always described as the proper arm motion, no matter which event you're running. And Connor McCormick just embodied that.
All right, so we picked up 9 there, sub-4, so that puts us at 23 in just these first 2 of 5 hot heats, elite window in the men's mile. So, Carson, we're 10 away from tying the record.
Oh, yeah, Phil. It's not exactly a slam dunk, as, of course, sub-4, despite how often we see it happen these days, despite how often we throw around the term trackflation, it is still impressive to see. That's why I emphasize combining quality with quantity here at BU, because, yes, we see sub-4 a lot, but the fact that we see it a lot does not diminish the accomplishment that it is.
And you know what I hope to hear more from? The crowd. It's been kind of on the quiet side, considering we have 42 sub-4s over those open races and then the first 2 elite window races. So things are looking up for a new world record for most sub-4s at one meeting. Again, the record, as we look back at those in the inside alley, we got some more Kansas Jayhawks. Tanner Talley on the inside wearing hip number 1. And we are getting ready and underway in heat number 3 of 5, the elite miles of this. Wow, contact again. Indoor track is a contact sport. The elite window, the FloTrack night in America. Phil Grove, Carson Gambaro here at BU.
Looked like David Holman of Wingate was eager to get away from that interior contact. Can't quite get around Tanner Talley of Kansas just yet, but either way, that contact definitely slowed the inside group down. And it'll be Graham Steadfast instead emerging to set that pace on the outside, followed immediately by Caden Kluth of American.
He's been active at the indoor season at BU. We've been mentioning his names in some other races here at BU this year. 29.2 per lap, 3:55 total time. And in that last race, just less than 2 seconds separated first from, I think, 6th or 7th. As again, we picked up 9 more sub-4 runners. Steadfast going through 459.
And that's why it's so important to stay close to the front, no matter how much it hurts when you get to those latter stages. If you stay close, you're going to give yourself a shot to break 4 minutes and potentially set a new PR. Got to stay committed and remember all that hard work you've been putting to get to this point.
As we've seen so often in 5,000 meter races and 10,000 meter races, those distance track guys have incredible miler speed. Here the milers have incredible 400, 800 runner speed, and we'll just see how quickly they can close. Steadfast is ahead of the pacing lights, again dialed in at 3:55.0.
And even the field that was nearly a second behind him at the latest split is beneath that 4-minute pace. That's what you want to see. It's Holman of Wingate, whom we mentioned was working his way up. Of course, I'm sure he'd like to work his way up the Division II ranks for the full mile. Top time coming in by conversion was Hussein Harabi of Adams State, the Grizzlies. It was outside of 4 minutes, but over at altitude over at MLK at University of New Mexico, converts to a 3:57.42.
All right, so a little longer than 880 yards, the midpoint in the mile. They were at 158 high for our pace setter as Steadfast stepped to the right and left it up to our finishers. But once again, that is David Holman from Wingate. They can come here with the D2 or D3 uniform, and it doesn't matter. They mix it up with 3 laps to go.
Wingate, the Bulldogs, just so dominant every year in the distances and cross country, and trying to add some more significant marks here in the mile. Got to keep in mind the Division II mile record is a 3:56.10 by Christian Noble, formerly of Lee, Tennessee, now part of the BU staff here. Look at Holman go.
Yes, Holman a big lead. Nick Dahl has moved himself into the number 2 spot, representing Central Park Track Club Tracksmith. as he's leading some of the collegiate athletes behind him. That is Aziz Muhammad from Northwest Missouri, another D2 program. But Holman, does he have enough left in his legs? They're at 3:13 on the clock, a lap and a half to go.
Holman has already run a number 5 time in Division II history of 3:57.99 at Twas the Meet before Christmas on December 12th, but he looks to be tiring a little bit now. A hard move after 800, a little bit sap-sipping.
All right, Tanner Talley, but Muhammad made Talley's lead very brief as one of our Canadian runners, Emile Tupin from Laval, moving up into the number 4 spot. And how about Caden Kluth from American?
Don't forget about Timothy Cherry, who won the open mile at the BU Opener, having to come back from 6th around the outside, but it's going to be a battle to the line. Mohammed still in front.
3:58. Are we going to get anybody else out of this one? That's going to be close. I don't know if we got any sub-4s out of this heat, but a close finish as Muhammad and Kluth to the line. It is Muhammad 4:19 as Caden Kluth just a couple hundredths of a second behind him.
Tim Cherry was definitely charging for the Spartans of Michigan State. And you see that bell lap, just how instantaneously Mohammed took the lead from Talley of Kansas and just rode that momentum all the way around. They might not have been ear-piercing thus far, but the crowd's definitely plentiful, starting to fill up the stands here at the Track and Tennis Center.
Oh, definitely. They pushed the envelope as far as capacity crowd in this oval. The focus obviously always on the athletes as Joe Dos Reis, you see him right there wearing number 13. He was on the oval earlier. He is going to be our pace setter. 3:56.50. You mentioned before about staying close to the pacer. Whether you look at the lights or otherwise, very important to stay in the race.
Exactly. You can never forget your racing instincts, no matter how many facilities exist to help make distance running easier, like great tracks like BU, like the great shoes. You can't forget about the most important fundamentals of why you train for these events.
And it is the competition. And you see they will be in their alleys until they come together at the top of the main straightaway. Just a very short straight here at the Track and Tennis Center. The pace is 29.39 seconds per lap. Just a little over that.
Looked like a little contact entering that first turn, but nothing major. Hamdani Ben Ahmed of Alabama moved his way in front just to avoid that trouble.
All right, then we have James Schmidt from Lipscomb in the number 3 position, second potential finisher. As Joe was 5th in the 1,000 meters earlier, 2:22.6. So he has some heavy legs. See if we can keep us on pace through 800 meters.
And he knows that feeling of being in a packed group coming home. Of course, it was a mad scramble in the race for second. If you didn't see Allen play on the track and missed that number 2 all-time 2:17.29, you would have still seen a great race for second. So it would probably be in his better interest if the field were closer to him with this great pace-making job that he's doing, but it looks like they're still going to race it amongst themselves, as that is their choice.
And Ben Ahmed, again, looked like he had a moment of imbalance on the inside as Matt Gattoon from Columbia putting that light blue uniform up front along with Riley Flemington from the University of Michigan, now the number 2 runner, trying to close the gap and see how they are with the lights behind our rabbit, Joe Dos Reis.
Flemington's had a good season thus far. He's run a couple of 3:58s, including one at his hometown Simmons Harvey Invitational to place 3rd behind only his teammates Brendan Herger and Trent McFarland. We already saw Herger in a previous heat. We'll see McFarland in the upcoming 3K, but it's clear to see that the Michigan Middle Distance program has become one of the most underrated in the country.
As Colin Bowler ran with a purpose to move up into the number 2 position. He is a junior from Princeton, already a sub-4 guy. And he makes the move with 3 remaining. Again, with purpose, 600 out.
Right at 2:30 as well, so got to keep those 30-second paces going. Colin Bowler, you talk about running with a purpose. He's been doing that since he was a high schooler. He and his twin brother, Brian, went to the Del Barton School in New Jersey. Just some of the most dominant distance runners to have emerged from the Garden State in recent years, staying in their home state for college. And Collins looking to bring this thing home, heading into the final 400.
All right, we're starting to get some closure with the front 7 runners. Things had strung out just a little bit, but now that gap between 1st and 7th isn't quite as large as it was, as the new leader, Flemington from Michigan, trying to move up, and he does, into the turn, and they're going to get the bell the next time by just 3:20 on the clock right there. So they are doing well in terms of keeping that pace for sub-4.
You wonder how the field all got so close together once again. Well, that's because everybody just started picking it up, and it's hard to see the pace yo-yoing in the opposite direction. So whoever ultimately wins will break 4 of this race.
All kinds of 29s that go round, and that bodes well for some more sub-4s, as Osama Alwa from the University of Florida takes a look back. He's going to get to the line first. How fast will he be? He's going to be under 3:58 to the line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 5. Going to get close. Carson, I think we're down to about 5 to tie the record. Can we do it in that final heat? There is our winner.
Officially, the top 4 have broken it. Just 500ths away. So we're going to need 6 to tie that record in the second heat. But at least the pace setting will take care of some of that. But Osama Alawi took care of the rest. Just looked so calm and composed that last lap. Yes, others did finish great like Bowler, but just look at the contrast in styles coming home. He holds his form brilliantly. He knew he had it.
That's right. Puts the one finger up. He is the winner. He is sub-4. Gets congratulations from a member of the Gator support team. Our 5th and final heat of the men's mile, as we will move up to the 3K and 5K to conclude this weekend's day 1 of FloTrack Night in America. Again, the women, in case you're just joining us, will be taking over the schedule tomorrow. It's all women's competitions. Tomorrow, the guys had ownership of the track in Tennis Center today.
And tomorrow, if you have been paying attention on our FloTrack social media, you'll saw that Ellie Purrier St. Pierre was a late entrant into the women's mile and is seated at 4:14. Her indoor American record is a 4:16, which is already number 3 all-time indoors on the women's side. That's about all I need to say right there. We could be in for a very special time here at the Track and Tennis Center.
And again, only a matter of months away from giving birth to her second child. Is just really amazed and befuddled how an athlete, again, a top-level professional athlete, can come back from a life event like that. And she says, the family is committed, I am committed, we're going out there. And again, the indoor world record, 4:13 and change.
We'll be on lookout for that. The pace scheduled to be 2:07 through 800 there. And here in this 5th and final heat of men's mile, invite Sam Yaneza, who 29:45 per lap. A very bunched up starts, slotting right behind looks to be Jack Gum of Adams State. He'll be opening 2 and change.
Again, the guys and gals from Adams State will see the women tomorrow. They come here with a purpose to compete against the best, no matter what classification or how many years they've been a pro. And those kids stand out. We know where they are. Currently, the Grizzlies sitting in the number 4 spot. As our pace setter, 3:57 is the target time.
Ricardo Gonzalez of Texas Tech had a strong second lap, staying nice and consistent on those 29s and change. Followed by Michigan's Aiden Sullivan. Again, pretty single file in the early stages when you look at the top 6 of the racers. Towards the back of the field, that's where things start to get a little more jumbly.
So 128 for our leader, 130 point all the way back to about 9th place. As again, you're seeing that mix. We see Big Ten, we see Ivy League, we see D2, just across the board. a great mix of milers. Again, our 5th and final hot heat. We need 6 to tie the all-time record for most sub-4s in one meeting, 52 here at Boston University.
Well, let's see how many guys come through that 800 split sub-2. Well, with 4 laps to go, pretty close to 6 guys. Now, are all of them going to have that kick? It's difficult to say at this point, but I will tell you this. Eric Cesares of Thunder Road Running, we could confirm him as our leader right now, and he looks mighty comfortable right now.
A 3:58 miler according to his seed time. A couple Cavaliers in 3rd and 4th. We saw their teammate Nate Mountain check in as a sub-4 miler just a couple heats ago, and going wide from Iona, that is Aiden Coles trying to move up. He's now in the number 5 spot.
Aiden Coles had a great run at the IC4A championships last week, becoming the 1K champion and moving up the Iona all-top 10 list right there. So trying to stretch it out to a mile. He's always been another guy with great 800 speed, coming down from Canada with his twin brother Tristan. So he's going to make a good strike for this behind the calves.
All right, Will Daly and Billy Atkinson. 2 laps to go at 3:01. They represent the Cavaliers of Virginia. Again, Coles in the number 3 spot.
At 3rd 400 of this mile, Phil, you've emphasized it so much, and it's clear to see just how painful it was and just how much energy it's taken out of these guys. It's all about what willpower they've got left to get to the line. Just 250 meters remaining.
All right, we have 6 men in close proximity to each other coming up the line at 3:30. Can all of them muster a sub-30-second final lap? They have definitely picked up the turnover, Carson.
Heading into the final stretch, the Virginia teammates have been separated. Daly's got to rely on instincts, but Coles is on his shoulder, and so too Mohamed Damush of Wingate.
Damush of Wingate with the flipped around chapeau. Can the D2 star pull out the win? Not going to reach. Aiden Coles. Coles gets to the line first. I'm seeing 4, hopefully. I think we're going to get 50 sub-4s, but again, Aiden Coles from Iona with the win.
I think that was 4. Yeah, it was. Good count there, Phil. Right at 50. I mean, hey, what day do you get to wake up at C4 sub-4 miles on a 50 count basis right there? Aiden Coles, we saw him making those moves up through the pack just beyond 800 meters. We knew what he did last week at the IC4As, and he's just continued his hot streak. The MAC championships are just over a week away, so Aiden Coles is going to be a big scoring threat for the Iona Gales.
All right, another look back at this final section of the men's mile as Aiden Coles made the big push, holds on for the victory, and once again runs sub-4 at Boston University's track and tennis center. And we will be back with the 3,000 meter runs. We take another look at the final numbers. Wes Porter from Under Armour Baltimore Distance. Again, he said you have to be courageous. You got to go out, put it out with 600 to go. He did it. He gets a win by almost a second over Aaron All. We'll be back more at BU. All right, we are counting down the seconds to the start of the men's 3,000 meters, one and done in the FloTrack Night in America Elite window. There is the lineup. And once again, a mix of those who are professional and those who are still in the collegiate ranks. The national lead, Colin Solomon, 7:36.71. He set it here at BU at the Sharon Collier Danville season opener. So many things happened in that meet. Those athletes went back into deep, intense training, maybe took a day or two off around the holidays, but they are back here in the middle of February ready to go again.
But we cannot forget about the true fastest time by a collegian this season, run by Marco Langon, 7:34.56 over at Boston's track at New Balance at the New Balance Indoor Grand Prix. Came fourth overall, but also moved to number 4 on the NCAA all-time list. Of course, there was that famous quote of his about just the state of pro running, everybody being, and I quote, cracked. But Marco Langon, his biggest determining factor, he just wants to win. Doesn't matter who he's racing against. That's his one goal.
And you had mentioned about being competitive, as we saw Colin Shaver from Boston College. He is ahead of the pace lights, and we do see Langon right now sitting in the number 2 spot. So maybe he took a look down and said, you know what, I like these lights. I'm going to stay with them.
Oh, there was a fall there towards the back. Looked like one of the BYU guys.
Well, there's one BYU runner all the way at the back of the pack, separated by about 5 or 6 meters.
Looks like Thomas Boyden is okay, so is Tavon
That is
Kitchen.
Creed Thompson.
Yes.
All the way at the back behind some of the Oregon Ducks, who are currently patiently sitting at the back of this field. Colin Shaver at 30.6. The pace time scheduled to be 30.3 per lap, so as humanly close as humanly possible, he is on pace. We'll see how they come by with the lights.
One athlete I'm not seeing out there is Gary Martin of Virginia, who was highly slated to do it out with Langon for this
no Virginia kid
3K win right here. So unfortunately, while we will not get that matchup, we still have a lot of guys that could potentially challenge Langon, who's our current racing leader. You look right behind him, Colton Sands. I mean, heck, he was part of, you could argue, 3KU last year. We saw that race at the opener between Parker Wolf and Ethan Strand. Strand kicking in that last 100 to set the collegiate record of 7:30.15. Sands, 7:39.60, still the 3rd fastest in UNC history.
So Ethan Strand is number 22 all-time with that aforementioned 7:30.15. The facility record, not much faster than that. Yard and a Goose back in 23, 7:28.23 is right now Colin Shaver from Boston College, setting the tempo. When they cross start finish, that will be 1 kilometer in the books.
They're slightly outside of 4-minute per mile pace, but they're still making pretty solid tempo, and it's typically towards the end of a 3K when you'll see who's left remaining, who's been able to tolerate that pace with their fitness, that you'll see that pace start to come back towards that 7:30 mark with what we've seen in this event recently.
So 2:32 plus was the pace for our now leading Marco Langon from Villanova. Again, they were scheduled to be on 7:35 clip, so Shaver did an admirable job setting the tempo. 6 laps in the books, 9 to go at 3:03.
And Marco Langon, though, he's made it pretty crystal clear that he wants to go for some NCAA titles in the 3 and 5K. He's got phenomenal speed over the shorter distances as well. He's number 3 all-time in 3:33 mid over the 1,500 meters outdoors, behind only Ethan Strand and his former teammate Leah Murphy.
So one of the things we haven't mentioned yet are the 3 BYU runners currently sitting in 4th, 5th, and 6th. Thomas Boyden, we did mention about one of their teammates that got pushed to the back of this pack, but they are right in position, really where you want to be. They're not up there setting the tempo, but they are just right there in a perfect position if anybody does falter. But you know what? The pace is slowing down a little bit. Let's go, guys. All of us, we are all in. Again, BYU currently sitting 4th, 5th, and 6th. Palfrey from Oregon in the number 2 position, or number 3, with Colton Sands ahead of him. And again, right now, all trailing Marco Langon from Villanova.
That was our first 1600 at 4:04 even for Langon. We'll see what kind of close he's got waiting in the wings. You see the BYU athletes have lost contact, but one guy I'm really curious to see how he does, Tavon Kitchen, their freshman standout who broke 4 indoors here at the Terrier DMR Challenge last year. He's already number 2 on the 5K all-time BYU list at 13, 19, 17. His teammate Thompson fell earlier. We'll see if Tavon can get back in the mix.
So that second cluster of 7 runners trying to close a little bit of open space between our top 3. You see it right there, about 6 meters, and then 4th and 5th position right now occupied by 2 BYU Cougars, with Marco Langon still in the lead. Next time by will be 2 kilometers, then we'll be really down to the nitty-gritty racing.
We'll see what this second kilometer is. It looks to be just about even from the first, maybe a little bit slower, but for Langon, I'd say he came through at 2:32.5, so dead even at 5:05. This is going to be a good race coming home.
How quickly can they close? Could they go 2:26? Drop it by like 9 seconds? That really would be kicking it in. But really nobody is started to race yet. They're just very patient, very content to sit where they are.
And this is an opportunity for a statement maker for all 3 of these guys. Yes, they're all likely to finish in a time that'll qualify them for NCAAs, but it's ultimately who comes away with a win that's going to be making the headlines. Tavon Kitchen recognizes that as he's just passed up Isaac Hedengren into 4th and is going to go after the top 3.
So 30 point the last go round, and you do see that acceleration and that separation has disappeared now between the top 3 and the rest of the field. Forget about the lights, folks. Now we are competing as they come down 3 laps to go, 600 meters, and he is going from a well off the pace 4th. Is he going to take the lead, or is he going to sit on Langon's shoulders? He's going all the way to the front.
Just like he did in the opening stages of the cross-country national championships as a true freshman, Tavon Kitchen has guts out here, Phil.
Now that is going for home from a long way away. We're talking about maybe in New York State, and you're headed to Boston. That is a long distance to cover, and he's bringing Palfrey with him now from Oregon.
Maybe from Provo, Utah, if we want to be more technical, but either way, that latest 600 split, if you bring it down, they're back beneath that 130 pace, and Marco Langon is completely fine with that.
He has responded. They're now down under 30 seconds, 29 low for the fastest split from the top 3. Sands now back in the 3rd place. Have they dropped Palfrey? It kind of looks like they have. His legs are heavy. Langon now in the lead, coming up to the bell. They're going to be just over 7 minutes, and here comes Colton Sands. He is going to put himself in a kicker's position right on the shoulder of Marco Langon.
The question is, does Sands have the speed to compete with Langon? We know he's had the strength. He's been running 5Ks and 3Ks alongside Strand and Wolf for years, but now he's got to challenge Langon, take down the beast in the final 100.
It is down to the final 100 meters. Marco Langon from Villanova, Colton Sands from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. They're windmilling it, they're yelling, they're screaming. Sands to the finish line. Langon holds him off and takes a tumble. Wow, all in, no doubt about it, as Marco Langon's legs just gave out at 3,001 meters, and that's where you want it to happen.
I think Marco Langon has made it a signature move to tumble across the finish line. This is just what happened at the opener meet when he got outleaned by thousands by Hoptum Samuel on the line. But this is the win he was looking for. His first of his senior season was a Villanova Wildcat, and he could not be happier. Nice to see him smile after the race, but my oh my, Colton Sands just took a big jump off of his personal best. Langon a new Villanova record of 7:34 flat. What a victory.
Wow, the final push for the line. And again, he realized that, you know what, I'm going to lose this if I don't give everything and then some in my legs. There are the numbers, just 0.05 of a second as they were able to pull themselves 2+ seconds away from the rest of the field. Tavon Kitchen, what an incredibly gallant effort to push for home from over 700 meters out.
And he might not have won, Phil, but he just destroyed Casey Klinger's BYU indoor record, down from 7:41.05, nearly a 5-second improvement in his first college 3K.
And Ed Eyestone is down there congratulating that young man in the infield. As we take another look at this one, what a great 15-lapper from beginning to end. A fairly clean race. We saw the big gap early on between Colin Shaver, our pace setter, and there was the run for home. Started with Marco Langon from Villanova taking control. There's Kitchen's move from well off the pace fourth to first. Wow. What a finish at this year's David. We'll be back with more from Boston University at this year's David Emery Valentine Invite.
There weren't as many people in this field as I would have liked, and I didn't realize the pace was only going to K, but when I smelled blood on all those guys, I knew I had to go for it. They passed you with 600 to go, and I knew that they was going to start bleeding, and they ready to bleed like I am, so just had to get back to the front with a lap left and show them I'm the best. That's it. So yeah, all I can say with that, you know, and yeah.
Obviously, never a dull moment with you. You dove to the line, got the win. Tell me, what's the difference between your grit and everyone else's?
Yeah, I know I need it more. I know the position I'm in, being responsible for making sure my family is good financially. So winning races like this, getting national titles, running fast, that's the way to up my contract for my mom and my sister so we can make sure we're all set, you know. My mom's the lunch lady. She loves her job, and she doesn't work during the summers, so I'm going to be racing during the summers, making sure I got my family right. My sister, she just got to high school, and I love that girl to death, and the only thing I want is to be able to give her anything she wants when she gets older. And that's it. I know track's going to be my way to do that. That's man, I don't know nothing about anything else except for running. That's it. So I don't know what it is like to be the national champ yet. I don't know what it's like to be the best in the world yet. So right now I got to focus on being the best in the NCAA. And that's all I got, you know. And I want all the smoke. I want to be beating everybody, you know. I believe I'm the best. I want smoke from everybody because I know once that smoke clears, only the strong survive, and those are the only people that's going to be coming out of that smoke. So by March, I know I'm going to accomplish my goal of being the two-time champ.
So I got to ask, one of the biggest matchups that everyone was talking about was you and Gary Martin. When you learned he was a late scratch, did that change the tactic at all?
Nuh-uh, because I was going to be right behind him regardless, and I know he got his ass right up on the pacer, you know. And at the end of the day, he didn't show up, but, you know, last week, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, when I ran that Grand Prix in the 3K to try to get the qualifying time, I was sick during that. I was sick the entire week leading up to that, you know. And at the end of the day, I had to show up regardless, you know. Real champs show up. Real people show up. If it was war, if it was like fight to the death, you're in the Middle East getting your arm shot off, you'd still be fighting because you know you got to stay up and survive. So that's how I'm like all the time, no matter what.
I love it. Congratulations, Marco. Good win.
Thank you, ma'am.
Wow, calling it the way he sees it, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. moving up to number 3 all-time in the collegiate ranks, 734 flat, and he needed every bit of that, Carson, because only won by half a second to the man who's now number 4 all-time.
Colton Sands, who pushed him every step of the way, like you said, Phil. And I think, based on what we just heard from Marco, that in a way, this win was humbling for him, because you look at a guy like Colton Sands, who came in 5 seconds off of the pace PR-wise, and he nearly took the win from Marco. Today reminded him that nothing is ever for guarantee, but even in that state, he could still execute and get what he wants.
And one of the things that Marco said when he said that the pace was only going to go through the mile. So it tells me a little bit that, okay, it's nice to have the lights there, but we are more interested in that sitting behind a human and taking the pace through, boom, 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 5 laps, 10 laps, or whatever. And speaking of that, 5 laps in for the 5,000 meter runners, and we have Max Hooper from Lipscomb in front. It looked like just about 2:39, 2:40.
Yeah, if not a little bit quicker. They're just outside of 13:10 pace for a 5K, which is tolerable for a select few of them. We did, of course, have that unfortunate scratch with Justin Knight, but there's still a few very notable guys in this. You'll look at Thomas Ratcliffe. He's on schedule here from the Nike Swoosh Track Club. You look at Jack O'Leary of Team Ireland as well. Sean McGordy's there from Nike. He's in the number 3 spot as we look at him right now, and I'm just so glad to see Sean racing here through all that he's been through since a Stanford Cardinal, since repping Team USA on the world stage. Just nice to see him get a good indoor race here at BU.
And exactly, and what we and Carson had mentioned about Justin Knight unfortunately being a late scratch. Those athletes who've had unfortunate occurrences in their career, injury or otherwise, it really took them out of that strong upward arch to the top. And Knight was basically out of the game for 4 years. He's coming back. Hopefully it's just a short hiccup in his return, as Max Hooper stepping up to the right. His day is over as he has led this field through the metric mile coming up.
Charles Wheeler, the Briton representing Kip Run, was 5th at the British National Championship in this event last year. His twin brother George will actually be running in the open sections later, so a little disconnection, but a nice connection to establish here as the field starts to spread out. It seems like the pace that was set, only Wheeler and McGordy were okay with it, but now that they're effectively the pacers for the rest of the field, you could sort of sense them coming back a little bit.
So again, that was a 4:14 opening metric mile, 1,600 meters for our leader in this one, Mr. Charles Wheeler.
Jack O'Leary of Ireland, I mentioned him off the top. He's starting to bridge this gap. He was 5th at the Eurocross Championships at the end of December in 2025, so he knows what it's like to put in those heavy mileage weeks. Athletics Ireland TV actually did a little weekly doc of his 102-mile week leading up to Eurocross, so a pretty cool feature to check out, free to watch on YouTube. Let's see if he can bridge this gap ultimately. He could be going after Andrew Koskarin's Irish indoor record of 13:12 and change.
2K in 5:18, 100 and plus miles. That's like old school mileage for usually you hear the 60 to 70 type of thing, but well over 100. That's either a marathoner type of conditioning program, as Charles Wheeler still our leader. McGordy in second. Open track about 15 meters back to Jack O'Leary.
And both Wheeler and McGordy have a little bit varying backgrounds. McGordy started out more as a pure distance runner. He's deviated a little bit to the steeplechase, but Wheeler, interestingly enough, is a British national champion on the roads. We'll see if he can bring home a solid time. He ran his fastest indoor 5K here at Valentine 2 years ago at 13:20:17. Has gone 13:14 outdoors, and that was back in August.
All right, Charles Wheeler gaining slight separation over Sean McGordy. You see 1-2, and then the rest of the chase group are top collegiate runners sitting in third. Dismas Lokira from Alabama. And at the end of the back straight, when Mr. Wheeler hits that spot, it will be 2,500 meters. 12.5 down, 12.5 to go. And there they are at 6:40, so 13:20 pace through the first half. And it looked like Wheeler is looking behind him. So is he in for the long game, or
Oh,
are you just saying, Sean, I want you to take the pace, or are they communicating a little bit?
look at this. That's gamesmanship right there.
Interesting.
McGorty says, I'll take it, no problem.
Yeah.
And Wheeler doesn't seem to be going away. I just want to make a quick clarification. I meant to say Scott Beattie was the British Roads 5K champ. He was initially on the entries as well, but either way, we already mentioned that Wheeler's placed highly in the British National Track Championships over 5K. He was in company with guys like Josh Kerr. So we will see if he's ultimately got the closing speed to bring it home on McGorty, who's run a 3:59 season best mile at the Liberty Brandt Tolsma Elite Invitational. We'll see what kind of strength he's got coming up.
So McGorty and Wheeler are 20+ meters on the field. The Alabama coach urging Lokira to move closer to, even though he's not really on an island since he's the leader of a very long single file chase group. There they are. But he said, you know what, go get them, close the gap now. They're coming up on 3,000 in, 2,000 to go.
And in stark contrast to when the pacer stepped off, Jack O'Leary looked like he was trying to bridge that gap, but since has realized that that might have been a bit too taxing for his liking, so he settled back just ahead of Tomer Tarragano of North Carolina, and the entire rest of the field is all strung out. All it will take, Phil, is just one hard move for somebody to get back in this race to go and reel in the top two.
Just a smidge over 8 minutes. They are on 13:20 pace. But again, still that big gap between first and second, McGorty and Wheeler. And the rest of this field, again, mostly collegiate runners, even though we'll throw Jack O'Leary into the mix in the number 4 position, the Irish distance runner. Tarragano from UNC Chapel Hill. It looked like he was giving a look at the outside shoulder of O'Leary. And yes, he did. Moves up into number 4. A big look by Charles Wheeler that time, just to see where those young guys are.
Safe to say that the early front running took something out of him, and right on cue, the pace is starting to almost accordion between the top group and the chasing group. That gap is a little bit less than half as large as it once was.
You can definitely hear the railroad train back in the distance coming. The train is coming, and they are chasing down Sean McGorty and Charles Wheeler.
McGorty, yeah, ended his 2025 campaign 12th at the USATF Cross Country Championship, so might not have qualified for Team USA, knowing that the World Championships were on home soil. Not an exact opportunity that a Team USA athlete would want to miss. So McGorty's running hungry out here, but can he shake this field? They are looking full of run right here.
They're midway through the 4th kilometer, and Lokira still getting an earful from his Alabama coach, but I think this is all positive stuff right now. He is really looking fresh, and there he goes. Maybe it was move at the other end of this oval. Dismas Lokira from Alabama, with 6 laps remaining, has overtaken our 2 early leaders, Sean McGorty and Charles Wheeler, and others are moving up toward the front as well.
And it looked like more approval on this latest turn 1 from the Alabama coach, seeing that steady cover that Lokira had made. He's had a solid indoor season thus far, although this is his first time running this event. Has run 13:25.16 for a collegiate best. That came all the way back at outdoors during the Stanford Invitational. Has mainly focused on the 3K and the mile up until now, but could be looking for a new friend in the 5K.
And in the number 4 position behind our early leader, Charles Wheeler, is Hyuga Endo from Japan. And now he is moving wide and takes over that 3rd spot because he realized that he is losing track position to our 2 leaders right there on screen, Lokira and McGorty.
But you got to admire Sean's patience here and composure. It was just like what we saw earlier when he was latched onto Wheeler, and even though Wheeler's been dropped for the moment, shuffled into the mid-pack, McGorty, his expression, his game plan, none of it has changed at all. We've got a few other guys trying to move up there. You mentioned Hyuga Endo of Japan and the matching Nike kit to Sean McGorty. He's joined him to give him some pressure from behind. But we'll see what these final few and a half laps behold.
So Lokira has run a couple 4:04, 4:05 miles this winter. on the banked oval down at Clemson and also down in Louisville. So does he have the speed to hold off now, which is a big group of 6?
You would think that with Lokira's emphasis on the shorter distances that that's going to be his big selling point coming in, knowing that he's got strength guys like McGorty to fend off, but this is more of Sean's home territory. It has been for quite a while. He's trying to stay in a good position heading into the final 400. Endo there in third. Look out for Miles Hogan, the Princeton Tiger. First time we've called his name all race. One of the best recent New York distance runners out of Fordham Prep, running in 5th in orange.
So Lokira running into some lap traffic right now. That is a factor late in the race as we see the lead group of 4, a tight-knit bunch, and it does include the young Tiger. Here he comes with 1 to go. Lokira on the inside, on the rail with the lead. Coming off a great cross-country season. Does he have the speed over this final 200?
That was such an instinctive shutdown there by Lokira to prevent Hogan from passing. Endo looks confident in third, but can either of them catch Lokira?
Oh my goodness. It's going to be the Ivy Leaguer challenging up onto the banking. He's got legs, but does he have enough track? Lokira is going to hold on for victory. Wow, what a run, what a finish. And again, he realized how much he had left in the tank, and he just timed it perfectly. Again, the 5,000 meters came at just the right time for Dismas Lokira from Alabama, and he made those moves. He listened to his coach right there, giving him some congratulations about the work he put in and where it was during the race.
A huge time for Dismas Lokira, not only a 4-second all-purpose collegiate best of 13:21.54, but he's just moved himself into number 10 in Division I, so he's given himself a qualifying spot as we currently stand, just less than a month away from Division I Nationals. And Miles Hogan as well, you've got to give it up for the Princeton Tiger, down from 13:37. He was a big underdog coming in, but he placed himself perfectly throughout that race, did almost none of the work until he had to.
All right, another look at our hot heat of the men's 5,000 meters FloTrack night in America. And again, Wheeler and McGorty early on, but it was Dismas Lokira, the big push at the end. Again, a pretty evenly paced race. It was 13:20 pace early on, and the winning time right there, 13:21.54. And Nia has our winner.
What's up, everyone? I'm here with Dismas Lokira. What a way to end FloTrack's night in America with the win in the 5,000. Just tell me how that race went for you.
The race was a little bit hard, but I stepped up and tried to win this. And later on, I won this.
I saw Coach Nick coaching you throughout the entire race. Tell me, what was the plan coming into today?
My plan was to qualify for national mark, and I think Coach Nick helped me so much. Yeah.
And that you did. You currently stand at number 10 in the NCAA after that race. So how proud are you right now?
I'm proud because this is my second, I'm sophomore. I'm happy for this. Yeah.
Nice. Well, congratulations, and we will see you in the next race, okay?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
What a great wrap-up for FloTrack Night in America, day one at this year's David Emery Valentine Invitational, the 5,000 meters. And I'm going to pass the baton to my partner. Carson's going to take over things for these big 15-lap races, the 3,000 meters to wrap up day one.
Thanks a ton, Phil. And you kind of got the relay fan in me, at least my hopes up, to think that we would see some more